Okay, gang, so Sean from The Good Dog, and I'm back with Mr. Ernie, and we are going to begin his first actual obedience command, which is always place command for us. Unless we're dealing with an incredibly fearful dog, then we'll typically do like long line recall with the e-collar, but that's a very rare thing. Almost always, 99.99999% of the time, it's going to be indoor place command. Should be quiet. Unfortunately, it's carnival season, so it's pretty loud outside, even though it's late. But inside works really nice. Keep the distractions really low. Help the dog learn nice and easily without a bunch of stuff going on around them. And it also teaches the dog from the get-go how to calm down, how to relax, how to develop more impulse control. So it's a nice command, and then you'll see how we build the other commands off of it and using it later on in the series. So what I'm going to do is just start jumping into the actual place command, how I'm going to teach him, and it's going to be pretty easy steps. What I want you guys to do is just watch where I'm pausing, watch where I'm delivering markers, watch my body language, watch when I relax the leash, all of this stuff. All of these things are done on purpose. And if I do it right, then they should all line up pretty well and help the dog learn. And to give kind of the overview, here's the way I always look at it. When I'm teaching a dog a brand new thing, I try and give them everything I can to help them learn it. And then I slowly start stripping those things away to where you start taking the training wheels off, to where the dog shows that they can start to do it on their own. So first you want to like, here's all the information, here's how this works, and then start pulling pieces away. You can do this on your own. You can do this without this. You don't need this little piece. You don't need this, all the additional little aids. And so that way you get to the place where the dog is actually reliably able to do it on their own. So that's kind of the concept. And I also, when I start doing place compared to maybe some other people, I don't just like put the dog on place, and I don't just walk on place. I walk up and I pause first, and then I give him the place command. I give him the command for place. But I like to teach dogs a lot of patterning of handler stops, dog stops. We do it at thresholds. We do it everywhere. And it really helps a dog get tuned in that like, my human stopped, I stopped no matter what. And then I'll start to create distinctions where I will actually move him onto place. I'll move past place. We'll go on and on and on. You'll see how I kind of move through the process and start taking those training wheels off, and hopefully it'll all come together. So let's check it out. Also, as I said in the other video and in many other videos, if you've heard me talk about this topic, because I'm not doing food luring, because I've got a leash and prong on, and I'm going to ensure the dog is successful with the command, I put the command, the word, the verbal, to the behavior straight away, which kind of puts me at odds with everybody else out there who trains, because they want to train the behavior first lots and lots and lots of times, then they add the word. So it's not that there's one way that's right and one way that's wrong. It's up to you to figure out what you like and what makes sense to you. This is the way I teach and train is a byproduct of me working with a lot of dogs and being very tuned into what I think works best for them. And so if I was doing food luring and there was no leash and prong to be able to ensure the dog was going to do the behavior, I would never add the word to it, because who knows what the hell you're going to get. And I don't want to say, place, and that like means jump on the couch. But as you see, when I do this, he's going to succeed very close to a perfect kind of level of what we're looking for. So he's going to hear the word earlier in the sequence of training, which I think helps the dog learn more quickly and get that verbal command more deeply embedded in them. It's just my theory. So let's see how we do. Let's go, bud. So nice and slow. A lot of people tend to rush through this stuff. A lot of owners really rush, and they're herky-jerky with the leash. Now, joystick the dog onto place. What I want you to watch is that we're just going to do this in a nice, fluid, slow, flowing motion. And if you notice that I'm maybe quieter, slower, and more low-key than I am maybe in other videos, It's because of the dog, because this guy doesn't need much gas, much foot on the pedal to put a lot of gas in his engine to send him up, right? So he gets excited and aroused very, very easily. So I'm going to keep all of that stuff to a minimum so he can process, think clearly, and stay safe. So walk up, leash pressure till he stops. He doesn't need to sit, he just needs to stop. Good. Place. Good. So I said place. I didn't pull him on. If you notice, you watch carefully, even though the leash is short, people outside, he doesn't like that. We'll deal with that later. As I walked him on, this was relaxed, but it was primarily my body motion that, because I've done other work with him as far as doing the prong collar introduction, he moved with me. And when I got right to the middle of the place command, I stopped my body. I gave him the verbal marker good, and I relaxed the leash pressure once he stopped moving forward. So all those things, like I said, I stack all the things that help him initially, and then I'll start stripping them away. But that's what you just saw. Walk up, pause, leash pressure if needed, relax the leash pressure once the dog stops, give the command simultaneously while you start moving. Don't use your arm to push the dog on, just move and trust that the dog will move with you. You can add pressure if you need to, if the dog won't go on, but most of the time they will. And then stop halfway, right in the middle place, give good, yes, whatever your marker is, relax the leash once the dog stops moving. Then we say, let's go, to move the dog off, which is our version of like loose leash walk. Let's go. Once again, I didn't grab the leash and pull him off. I said, let's go, and I moved. I used my body more as guidance than the leash. Most owners and trainers that are perhaps less experienced tend to just do a lot of kind of leash like this, and that's a great way to get a dog edgy, anxious, fearful, worried, dangerous, whatever. So you don't want to be adding pressure willy-nilly. It's a very bad choice. You want to be very much cognizant of how you're having the dog move and maneuver with you, and you don't want to be manhandling with the prong. Okay, let's go. Human stops, dog stops, pressure on the prong. There we go. I waited until I felt the pressure from him stop, place. Good. And if you watched exceptionally carefully, as soon as I said place and my body started to move like this, he went like this and looked at my body. He looked at my feet, saw that they were moving, and moved with me. If you watch really carefully, you'll actually see, I was watching him very carefully, you'll actually see him do that. I said place, I started to move. He looked, oh, Sean's body's moving. I should move with him. Ah, nice. Sean's body stopped, information. He wants me to stop here. Pressure on the leash. He wants me to stop here. Verbal marker good. He wants me to stop here. Ah, got it. Let's go. So the least amount of leash pressure needed that time to get him to actually stop. That's great. Place. Good. So he got startled just because Mara just kind of hit the chair over there, but he's still pretty much right in the middle of the place command. Now, what I'd like you guys to think about, is that I started using the place command, verbal command, straight away. And if you notice, he's doing place straight away, which is why I can add the word straight away. So I hope that makes sense. I'm ensuring he's going to be successful. But I'm not doing it by forcing him on. I'm doing it by being a lot more subtle and leveraging a bunch of things that I'm doing in a more subtle, nuanced, fluid way that helps him succeed, but allows me to put that word on straight away. Let's go. And if he keeps trying to move on to here, I can add a little bit more pressure and see if that helps. There's no need to be just like continuously static. Well, Sean said just add pressure and wait till I stop. Cool, but at some point, if that message doesn't get across, then I'll add a little bit more pressure, a little sharper, see if that starts to give us some more value or benefit and change in behavior on the next set of reps. Place. Good. So he's distracted, but he's in the right spot. I'm going to just pull his head up out of there. I'm working through carnival season, buddy. You're doing great. Let's go. So let's see if he does any better this time. Nice. So because I added extra pressure on the last rep, this was the first time I really didn't have to use any leash pressure to get him to pause when I paused. Now he's not in perfect position. He's a little further ahead of me than I ultimately would like him to be, but we can fix that up super easy peasy. Mainly, I like the arc that I'm seeing of him learning. Oh, Sean stops, I stop. Okay, Sean moves, I move. Okay, cool. All this makes sense. Place. Good. Nice. Let's go. Now, if you caught that, when I said let's go, I said it very, very relaxed. If you notice my voice right now, it's quiet, it's slow, and it's relaxed. And even everything I'm doing right now is relaxed. And even then, with that little bit of like verbal interaction and motion, you still saw him get jumpy and like ready to go like a stallion, right? So imagine if I was being excited. Imagine if I was giving him lots of praise. Imagine if I was more amped up or angular in my motions and movements and doing things like this. It would be, he would be struggling to learn, and he would be much more likely to be a risk to snap at you because of your behavior, not because of his. Let's go. So a firmer pop that time, because we've done this enough times. You're smart and clear-headed enough. I think you can put that together. Maybe I'm underwhelming you with the pressure. I've given you enough reps for you to actually start to put the pieces together. Now I'm going to start upping the ante and saying, I'm going to hold you a little more accountable for actually like planning it right there when I stop. So don't stay static, but don't be reckless or just haphazard about how you're adding your pressure or consequences. I'm doing this in a very conscious, considered, slowly stacking these moments to best serve him and figure out who he is. Place. Good. Leash is loose. Let's go. And we'll go from this direction a little bit. Place. Good. Let's go. You can see he's just ready to go, which makes perfect sense why he's struggled in the past and made some poor decisions. Because if you're that tightly wound and you haven't been taught how to relax, chill out, and develop more impulse control, when something startles you or something gets you wound up or it's something you don't like, very easy for a dog like this to go to the next level. Bad choice level. Nice. Place. Good. A little late on my marker there, which is probably why he ended up a little further ahead. Let's go. Place. Good. Nice. Let's go. So if you guys A/B these videos, Ozzy doing place and him doing place, you're going to see very, very different me. You're going to see a different dog, but you're going to see very different me in the way that I'm doing it. I'm going to get the same result. I'm going to train the same behavior. I'm going to do the same basic mechanics, but how I adjust and tweak those, dramatically different. Okay, let me keep rocking here. Let's go. Place. Good. So there's no pressure on the leash. So I'm giving them the opportunity to make the mistake. Let's go. Turn. Let's go. Place. Good. You're all tangled up right here, bud. There we go. Let's go. So my quiet, calm fluidness is keeping him from making monkey business mistakes. I can see he's right on the edge. If you're watching carefully, especially if you're over on this side, maybe you can see it on that side the same way, but you can really see this like, every time like we step off, he's like raring to go. So I want you guys to be careful if you're working with your own dog, or if you're a trainer training somebody else's dog, that you're really conscious of what you're feeding that dog to make sure you get the best stuff. So let's go. Place. Good. Let's go. And you'll even notice that my tone is becoming a little firmer, not just neutral, but firmer. Let's go. Place. Place. Good. So he doesn't have to sit, but that's fine. I just pulled his head up because he's sniffing the mat. Let's go. Cool. So now we're going to move to walking him straight on to try and expedite the process so you guys see a bit more. I don't want to do this forever and ever and ever. Want to help you guys see more of the process. So let's check it out. We're going to walk him all the way onto place. Once again, keep it slow. Fluid, chill. Let's go. Place. Good. I said place about a foot before he gets to the mat. If you're calling a dog around the room, if you're fully off-leash trained, or if the dog is, and if you are, then if the dog's moving fast, you want to give the command sooner so the dog has more time to process what you've asked for and execute the command. If you're moving really slow, then you can actually shorten the distance between when you give the command. But there's lots of different nuances with this, from stopping, from pausing, and then ushering him on without pausing, and actually like pausing and then having him go on without you. Lots of different ways you can do this and different tweaks you can do. We don't really find we need to do that third step of having him go on without us, because the way we train, we're recalling them to place, and so they automatically end up doing that just by the nature of the training. So let's go. Place. Good. Let's go. So I'm not going to correct him for that stuff right now because I want to keep this flow for you guys. If I was working him in a regular session, I would probably have corrected that much more significantly to make sure that we start chipping away at that. But I want to be able to get as much of a kind of neutral place command exercise for you guys to see rather than trying to tackle behavior issues. That's for a different video, just so you know why I'm letting it go. I typically don't, but I'm letting it go so we can just make sure this stays in a nice kind of flow so we can keep working. Here we go. Let's go. Place. Good. Now I'm going to do one more rep, and then I'm going to start doing a little bit of proofing, like moving around the mat, and see how he does with it. Let's go. Let's go. Place. Good. So I'm walking around him, keeping the leash really relaxed, and a smarter way, like I'm watching him and I'm looking and I'm like, he's got pretty strong eye contact on me, nothing threatening, but it's intense eye contact. So a smarter way to do this would be have the leash like this, so I've got better security. So as I walk around him, I do this with the upside down L, which is Smart Sean. And that way, in case anything happens, I've got immediate control. If he was to get dicey or mentally go sideways and want to come at me, then I've got more control straight away. But don't put any tension on this leash so you don't miscue the dog to come off. And I'm moving real slow, guys. So like just like you build the training, you want to make sure you build the distractions the same way. Nice and slow. Just take your time and slowly build the arc of distractions. Don't try and like, wow, he knows place. Cool, I can like knock on the door now or let the other dog out or roll a toy by. He's just in preschool. He's just getting the basics of this. Down the line, several days into this, once he's really, really proofed and strong, then you can start adding more and more and more, but let the dog tell you, how far along am I? Okay, I'm pretty good with this. I can hang with this. Okay, I can handle a little bit more. I can handle a little bit more. And you keep pushing them. There's that zone of, I can't remember the actual phrase, but there's the zone of what he's just barely capable of, which is where you want to push him to. And if you push him too far, then he's going to make mistake after mistake. And there's a time where it's appropriate to push them where they are going to make some mistakes to where you can correct it and help them move through it. And then there's a time where you're moving too fast and it's just not helpful for the dog. So that's where it gets into a bit of the nuance. Zone of proximal development, I think is the phrase I was looking for. So that's what you're shooting for. All right, let's go. Let's go. Place. Good. So you notice I was able to move away. These are all conscious decisions, right? So this is part of me training him simultaneously. Nope. Place. Simultaneously adding, no. Simultaneously adding a bit of proofing by just moving even a little bit like this. But the leash has to be nice and loose. And there's no big deal if he makes a mistake and steps off. Say no, place, and usher him back on. This isn't big correction time. It's not time to like pop him for stepping off place. He's just learning. Let's go. Place. Good. So I go back to my L. Now, he's right on the precipice. So I know if I take a step, he's going to probably step off. So I can help him learn. Nope. Place. Good. So when you see a dog right on the precipice like this, when you see him on the precipice, it's a better learning moment if you take that extra little step Don't pull, don't put any pressure on the leash. Take the extra little step, see what the dog does. And I had a feeling he'd make the mistake, which then allows us to have a learning moment of just because Sean moved a little bit further past place doesn't mean that you step off. So I'm starting to build distinctions into place, whereas I was stopping in the beginning stages every time right in the middle. Now I'm starting to move a little bit further past it. So check that out and then we'll wrap this up pretty quick. Let's go. Place. Good. Now he's sniffing, so there's a really good chance he'll make a mistake because he's going to look up and notice that I'm not where I was. No. Place. So his nose really gets him into trouble. Now I have another one of those moments where I can step over here and see what choice he makes. Good. So he anchored himself and sat down. That's great. Let's go. Place. Good. So lots of slack on the leash, but my body's moving past, so I'm starting to create distinctions, starting to proof him, when I say making distinctions, the distinction is Sean can move away from place, but it doesn't mean you follow him. No. Let's go. Once again, this is introduction to place. This isn't finished product place. This isn't correction place. This is just the beginning. Okay? Place. Good. I really don't want his nose down because then I know he's not going to be learning about where my body position is. I want him to be looking at me and seeing what I'm doing. No. Place. Let's go. Place. Good. Nice. So that's great because he's not anchored, he's not sitting, he's not like totally 100% committed, but he's staying in the spot even though my body's moving around him. We'll see how he does with me moving completely. Good. So I'll mark that as well because that's great. Good. I'll mark that. The more anchored he gets, the better it looks. Let's go. Place. Good. And I'd say that's a pretty good first introduction to place. I can have the leash loose. I can move past the mat. The dog will actually stay on the mat, even with some minor distractions. And that gives us a nice foundation to work from to start building. Look at that. That gives us some nice foundation to start working for the next session where we'll do more advanced place. So hopefully that helps, right?